We flipped the finger to the King of England. Stole our country from the Indians. With all our tribes and guns in our hands, took it for our own. Built a nation dedicated to liberty, justice and equality. It doesn't look that way to you, it doesn't look that way to me. Sick and joke, I know. Listen up, man, I'll tell you who I am. Just another stupid American.
Hello, welcome to Congress of the Working Class. I'm Mike. I'm here with Johnny and Esworthy. Hello, guys.
What's going on?
So we've been off for a little while. We're having some technical issues with our video editing and stuff like that, software. So we're going to try to get things back up and running for you guys again. But so this week we're going to start off with, there's a couple different stories that have been floating around. One of them has piqued Johnny's interest. So it's about women soldiers being able to serve on the front lines. So, Johnny, go to it.
No, basically, they've decided to lift the combat ban for women in the military. Actually only affects the Marines and the Army because Navy and Air Force already use women as pilots and everything else, so they're already technically front line for them. Obviously, it's not going to go in right away. It's one of those things where they're going to work them into it, and they're going to do a lot of progress reports to find out how it's going. But they do actually, the one thing I felt good about was that they, and I'm for it, quality across the board, but, my big thing was I was kind of hoping they wouldn't lower the standards to do it, just to try to be PC, and apparently they're not. They're gonna, they're gonna have to basically meet the same criteria that the men do now in order to meet, frontline operations, special forces, things like that. They are still debating on some of the more intricate roles. I'm not sure if that means special forces or not, but basically they're going to start putting women in combat roles.
I think the reason why they're doing it is because their recruitment is low.
Yeah, that they're going to need more people to handle the domestic insurrections that's coming.
That's a possibility as well.
Well, no, honestly, I don't think it's the recruitment's low. I've been dealing with I've met a lot of ex-Marines lately, and they're actually getting let go because the government's actually downsizing the military. So there's been people let go that actually wanted to re-enlist. So I don't think recruitment's the issue. I think they're actually going for equality. It's hard to keep denying them that when you just went, you just got rid of Don't Ask, Don't Tell. Unfortunately, women tend to be the last thing to go. They allow, minorities in the military, and then they allow, gays to openly serve, and now they're allowing women to finally fight.
Well, it's about time they start pulling their weight as far as defending our country goes.
Yeah, because that was the problem before.
Well,
exactly.
It was. They want to reap the benefits, but don't put in the time.
Hey, man, there were a lot.
Let me guess. They started using contractors to do the kitchen work, so now the women didn't have anything to do, so they had to put them in combat roles. Is that what we're going with here? I mean,
oh, so you read that white paper too?
Yeah.
That's horrible.
That is completely
horrible. No, I think it's great. It's fine. I'm just waiting for them to start bitching. About conditions or, how they need, separate barracks or something, because you're a fighting unit to a point, you are intimate with each other, Well,
that's the problem with intimacy, and that's the fact that, there's already been numerous cases of rape that have boiled down through the military and putting them on the front lines.
They've been poorly handled by the military at that.
Extraordinarily poorly handled by the military. But this, I applaud trying to make women more equal, but when they're already treated like pieces of meat in a testosterone-filled environment,
That environment is a problem, but to be honest, it seems to only be a problem with our military because there's plenty of other militaries that have women on the front line. So there's something that needs to change about our military structure to address that issue.
What happens when they're captured?
What happens to anybody when they're captured? I mean, that's...
I'm sure the men don't get ass raped.
I'm pretty sure they do.
I'm not sure I've heard of any accounts where they're like, oh yes, they anally raped me in order to get me to.
Well, Abu Ghraib.
And let's be honest, how many?
Well, that was us doing
even if it did, even if they did, how many men would admit to that? How many men admit to getting beat by their wives? How many men admit to getting raped? They don't, because they don't want the stigma that goes with it. So even if they had been,
true.
how many of them are actually going to admit to it?
No, I guess that's a good point. But.
Because I had a buddy that was in the Marines that went to Iraq and had his translator. Two of the translators were telling them a story about being in a store and locking the door when a little boy came in and basically raping a boy in their store. So it's not like it doesn't happen over there. And it's honestly, for some reason, seems to, from what he gathered, it seemed to be more acceptable than touching a woman, because in their culture, women are considered dirty.
Well, it's like during the Crusades.
Like you leave for 7 days a month, so.
Well, during the Crusades, like, raping was like an accepted practice of the soldier. Even though there's a whole bunch of political stuff goes along with that particular event. When you're in warfare, I mean, things get crazy, in war. I mean, I think it's great that they're making an effort to be more inclusive. We'll see if it pans out. I guarantee you that JAG will be doing a lot more paternity stuff.
I don't know. I don't know. I honestly don't think it's a good idea. I think our culture is not ready for that. There's no real equality in decent conditions for women in our natural society, let alone to be in a combat situation.
And what happens when we deploy with India against China?
I'll tell them not to go on any buses.
Somehow, I don't think camo gear is going to be considered revealing clothing, but I could be wrong.
Hey, man, I've seen some of the clothing that some of these people have considered, she was asking for it, and...
Well, that's a load of shit argument to begin with. Although, there is some merit to saying, if you're in an environment that could potentially be dangerous with you, walking down the street in the cocktail dress that barely comes below your ass cheeks is not discouraging bad behavior.
But it also, just because she's like that doesn't, give anyone the right or should encourage it in men to act in that manner.
I agree, but it's a baser instinct of the species. I'm not defending it at all. I'm just saying that it's more likely to happen in that event.
Right.
As a straight up fact,
It's more likely to happen what event?
If you're dressed for the occasion.
What?
So you're dressed for rape. Awesome.
I'm sorry, but I think that's a bullshit argument too.
So you're saying that rape is not more likely to happen when a woman dresses slutty.
Women get raped in Arab countries that wear burqas. So no, I don't think their clothing really has that much to do with it. I think what it has to do with is people's inability to control their urges.
Well, I agree that's the base thing, but and I'm not defending it, like I said, but it's just
It sounds like you're defending it.
I'm not. I'm really not.
No, I mean, a woman's body is her property. I mean, I wouldn't give a shit what.
No, it's the property of the Republican Party.
It's getting to be that way, yeah. But I mean, like if I went out to a gay bar, and some guy liked the way I looked for some reason, and then decided
you're really stretching.
I am stretching really far.
Well, look at it. You're little. You got the ear rig and the mohawk.
I don't have any earrings.
And you got that cute. You got that cute, pretty mouth.
I do have a cute, pretty mouth, but that's besides the point. But if I go there and I'm hanging out and I walk out back for some reason, or walking down the street and one of them grabs me, takes me in an alley and rapes me, I mean, really, was I asking for it? And because I went to a gay bar, I'm wearing normal clothes. I mean, it's not a very good argument.
Well, it depends on what's normal.
I mean, the thing is that, we are a society, especially us, as Americans, are a society of, we like to blame everything else but what the real problem is.
True. Usually it's another group of people.
That's a possibility, too. I mean, a bunch of men rape women, what do? They blame the women.
Yeah.
I could see too much skin, so I had to fuck her. I mean...
Well, that's just bullshit.
Right, well, I mean, that's the argument that comes out of it. I mean, well, she was asking for it. I'm pretty sure no woman asked you to hold her down, pin her, and, violate her repeatedly while she cries and screams.
That's not true.
Well,
there's some sick women out there.
Women. And honestly, I've had women ask me to do that. And I've turned around and said no. And that's just, to me, common sense, because it's like, why would you put yourself in a scenario like that to where if somebody heard it, and then that woman is just loopy enough to claim that you did,
Right.
So, it's like I won't have sex with anybody that's drunk. That was one of my rules for my entire youth was, anybody that's under the influence of drugs or alcohol, I would not touch them. Because it was just asking for stupidity,
That's not what you said about that guy.
Yeah, well, that was a lonely night, so.
Alleys are lonely places.
They are. His hair shined in just the right light.
You just couldn't help yourself.
I just couldn't. I couldn't help myself. He was asking for it.
Yeah, that prison cap really just,
Yeah. Anyway, we're going off on a weird tangent here. Why are we doing that? Weird. All right.
Not we, you two. I'm staying the fuck out of this conversation.
I think it's hitting too close to home for Johnny.
It's because you're busy fapping.
That would be awesome, but no.
Oh, I'm happy my children can hear this show. Oh, anyway. So edit. Exactly. So talking about women's bodies, let's move to New Mexico. Well, no, let's not move to New Mexico. Let's move on to speaking about New Mexico. A Republican woman, Catherine Brown, introduced a House bill in New Mexico that would make essentially having an abortion a felony, because of the fact that tampering with evidence from a rape or incest, I guess this only applies to women who claim to be raped or,
only the ones that really want to get rid of the kid.
Right. It says tampering with evidence shall include procuring or facilitating an abortion or compelling or coercing another to obtain an abortion of a fetus that is the result of criminal sexual penetration or incest with the intent to destroy evidence of the crime. I'm pretty sure that's not what their intention is.
Yeah, they want to get this fucking man seed out of their body.
Right. And it says the bill turns victims of rape and incest and the felons and forces them to become incubators of evidence for the state, which is from Progress Now. A guy named Pat Davis said it.
So what happens if there's a medical condition that causes a stillbirth?
Well, the problem. Well, I guess she didn't abort it, so it wouldn't matter.
But then her body was violating the law.
But the rules against tampering with evidence, it doesn't matter why or how. It's the fact that it happens.
It says including. Well, actually, it says tampering with evidence shall include. So it's suggesting that pretty much any version of it, I guess. I guess that would fall into that because it says the tampering with evidence shall include procuring or facilitating an abortion. So
this is a woman that introduced this bill.
Correct, a Republican.
What the fuck is wrong with her?
Now she is claiming that it's not in her intent and that it was just the law was badly worded when it came to be.
Unfortunately, it's the words of the law that matters.
She's claiming that she's trying to work now to fix it.
Yeah, I'm sure she is, because she's probably catching a shit ton of backlash.
Yeah, bad press and phone calls.
Right, exactly. So she's like, oh, let me backpedal. Let me fix what I did.
Damn it, publicist. It didn't go through the cracks like you said.
Even people that are anti-abortion tend to kind of cringe when you talk about forcing somebody through, forcing
9 months of caring of an incest baby or a rape baby.
Right, a rape baby, yeah. I mean, even they cringe at that.
Yeah, I mean, me personally, I'm pro-choice, so it doesn't matter to me. But, as far as I'm concerned, I think it's kind of funny. I mean, and now this bill is an exception, at least from what I can tell, is that, at least it was introduced by a woman. But 9 times out of 10, these bills are introduced by men, which disturbs me.
Wow.
But, and if she, if she believes that, this country frightens me with shit like that, man. Here we are supposed to be a country of freedoms, but yet,
Well, yeah, it doesn't matter whether it's Democrat or Republican. Somebody wants to take away your freedom. One way or another.
I mean, I personally don't like the whole, let me step across this line all the time, and they're beating a dead horse. I mean, honestly, it's the abortion thing has been kind of, it's been on the books for 60 years? Sorry, not 60 years.
50.
Yeah, 50 years, yeah.
Yeah, near 50.
Yeah. So, I mean...
And that's not even a law,
right?
By the way. That is an interpretation of a court case, by the Supreme Court. Talking about Roe versus Wade.
Right.
Which has been widely criticized by a lot of people, not just Republicans or Democrats, by being by the Supreme Court creating legislation, pretty much. But that's a whole different thing. But those kind of laws are, they keep putting out laws like that kind of slip through the cracks.
Mm-hmm.
There was another example. What was it? Somebody was trying to make it so if you were an atheist, you couldn't get a high school diploma.
Yeah, it's in Arizona.
Right?
Next door.
Well, what was that? How did that go?
I will read you the oath that they had up there. Essentially, it's pretty much saying that if you don't take this specific oath, which at the end, I mean, most of the oath seems relatively tame, but the very last 4 words are unto God or something like that. And a lot of people are peeved because it's, you have many faiths in this country. And then if somebody doesn't want to say that because that's not their faith, they essentially can't graduate. And for some reason, my internet is being very slow and not loading the story right now.
Well, I got it in front of me. It's I state your name. Do solemnly swear I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to do the same, that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge these duties, so help me God.
There you
go. Okay.
Yeah,
but the argument that I get from the religious people that I know tends to be on these types of things is, well, the majority of the country has some religion or another, and it doesn't say the Christian God, it just says God.
Yeah, but if you ask a Muslim who God is, he doesn't say God.
He'll say
right.
Allah.
Right. Or you ask a Jew.
Right. Yahweh.
Right. Yeah, so you ask an atheist.
It's Flying Spaghetti Monster.
Flying Spaghetti Monster. But yeah, I mean, so to me it's silly. I mean, and another thing, it kind of bothers me because, we already pretty much say the Pledge of Allegiance in schools anyway, which I don't agree with.
I'm okay with the Pledge of Allegiance. I just don't like the part they added in the 50s.
Well, I'm not a huge fan of anything that promotes that nationalism. When you're young, you're taking an oath, which is why people can be tried as traitors, is because they've assumed that people have taken this oath because we have it in schools, which says, I pledge allegiance to the United States of America, which means if you do anything against the United States of America, you're automatically labeled a traitor.
Like it would make a difference whether you said the pledge or not, and you have the option not to say it.
And I don't say it, and I've refused to say it since I figured out what the hell it meant. But The thing
that's part of the indoctrination process of schools. Though.
Right, exactly. And I mean, I encourage my children not to say that. But I mean, it's the same thing as like sending your kid to church at a young age. You know, they don't understand what they're learning when they go in there.
And that's why the Catholics make you choose whether or not you're going to stay in at like age of 8.
Right.
It's called confirmation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, to me, I'd rather, you know, if my children are going to go in or as an adult or whatever the case may be, you know, I would rather them wait till later so they understood what they were looking at first. But I don't know. I don't agree with any kind of oath like this for any reason because to me it's a silly thing. I mean, even with Congress makes sense because you're in a public service facility, you know, like as in Congress, Senate.
I just think it's a waste of fucking time with all this shit going on for any of these politicians to be worried about any of this shit. They're getting paid to do their fucking job. Why does this matter?
They don't.
That's what I don't get.
What are you talking about?
Because I mean, they're
why should it matter at this point?
But I mean, they're gonna sit and debate over this, and it's gonna go into hearing, and tax dollars are gonna be wasted for people to debate this in some kind of legislature, and it's all a waste of freaking money.
Yeah.
Like, why? I don't know.
It's like the gay marriage argument. The gay marriage argument it wasted so much time. It's like, dude, all they're doing is getting married. It's a piece of paper. You know, but it's been how many years? It's been how many years they've been arguing it? They're still arguing it? You know? It's a right for us to be able to do it, but yet we waste all our time on it. Meanwhile, our economy is in the shitter. We're in multiple wars that we can't pay for. We have one of the lowest graduation rates in the world. We have one of the lowest math ratings in the world. Well, our schools just generally suck, you know, but instead of worrying about that, let's worry about if we could make them say an oath so they can graduate. You know, I mean, really? Seriously?
Yeah.
Worried about what women can do with their vaginas, you know?
This is why we need guns in this country, but we're not going to get into that topic.
Yeah, we don't need guns in our country to handle these problems. We just need politicians who have their fucking heads out of their asses. You know, these guys are so worried about their fucking public face, you know, on whether or not
re-election and
right.
all that fun stuff.
The respect and approval of their political sciences.
I mean, Jesus Christ, we had I don't know if the Congress is still this low, but our Congress was rated worse than syphilis. People liked syphilis more than they liked our Congress. I mean,
that's about right.
That says a shit ton about public opinion of this government. You know, I mean, it's a do-nothing Congress, and it's been so for many years. And it has gained no traction. It is doing absolutely nothing. It's pumping out fucking, essentially shiny objects to distract people from what's going on in this country. I mean, we haven't arrested any bankers, really, for the economic fallout from what happened in 2008.
Of course not, because it was planned.
You know, we had police in the streets, you know, against people who were protesting that action, and half of the country was duped into believing that it was okay. I mean, but yet we're watching our country descend this very slow spiral of death.
Well, you see, it's going to get faster, though.
I'm sure.
And a lot of people are going to wake up at that point. Unfortunately, it'll be too late at that point to do anything about it.
See, and laws like this, to me, are tyrannical. You know, because you're trying to force people to be nationalists, or you're taking something away from them.
Tyranny.
You know?
What can be done about tyranny?
Well, the problem is that nobody in this country will do it.
I agree. It's because we all been brainwashed into thinking that, it's somebody else's problem, or, it'll take care of itself, or trust the government.
Yeah, that's a good answer. Trust the government to fix itself.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I just saw a thing about they're trying to get rid of the filibuster. Or they're trying to do filibuster reform. And I laughed like hell when I heard that.
Yeah, they really whined about that during the Bush years, or when the Democrats were in control, or whether or not,
I mean, honestly, the amount of filibusters that have happened over the past 4 years has been ridiculous.
Oh, I agree.
It's like quadrupled what all the other ones faced total.
That's because politics.
All the other ones together,
right? Exactly.
Add up to what they've done. I mean, it's just honestly, like, just admit that you didn't win that house and let it be. I mean, isn't that what it's supposed to be? I don't get how the everybody has to cater to the losing party. I mean, yes, they control the House, and that's one thing. But, you didn't win the Senate, so why should everybody cater to you?
Because it's become a science of manipulating the system.
Yeah, which brings us to gerrymandering.
They need the talking filibuster back is what they need.
Yeah, make them stand there for 6 to 8 hours.
Yeah.
While they're in session.
Yeah. You make them stand there and talk the whole time. Yep. I guarantee you 90% of these motherfuckers wouldn't be able to do it because their knees would give out.
Then they would come up with some procedural workaround for it.
Well, that's what they did.
Yes, it's exactly what they did. Now they need to get rid of it. But are we still on the first day of the session? Because I know, wasn't Harry Reid keeping the first day open while they debated on what they were going to do about the filibuster?
I think so. As far as I'm concerned.
Is it still? Are we still technically on the first day?
Yeah, I think so.
He just keeps suspending it instead of closing the day, and that way it's still on the first day. So they decide to at any point they can pass whatever rules they want.
Yep.
Because they can only do it on the first day, but if he doesn't close the day, then it's still the first day.
So they should only get 1 day's pay.
I concur.
That would be brilliant. That is an amazing suggestion.
That is a really good suggestion.
If they're only going to work 1 day per their rules,
right?
They should only get paid, $10,000 for 1 day?
That would be awesome. That would be amazing if that would happen. We should start a petition for that on the White House website.
Yeah. Yeah, so they could get a response saying, "Oh, I don't believe in that."
What? No Death Star.
Yeah. Or we could do it like they do it and attach a rider onto our petition that guarantees a Death Star.
We want it by 2025. Damn it!
And to impeach Obama. Just for the hell of it, so we can get both sides agreeing on something.
Yeah, Death Star for one side, impeach Obama on the other.
Yep.
Oh God. Yeah.
I mean, honestly, people enough decided.
I mean, we've all talked about it before, but I mean, there are a ton of things that need to be implemented, and the problem is that the people in charge of implementing them will never implement them. Term limits. They'll never get implemented because the people who were in there riding on the coattails of the taxpayers. You want to talk about people who are fucking entitlement society? Fucking Congress and the Senate and the House and the fucking every single bit of every single one of those motherfuckers are fucking parasites on this country.
Oh, absolutely. It makes my heart flutter a little bit to hear you say that.
I mean, it's true. I mean, if there's you talk about, everybody talks about the welfare queens, how they sit at home with 10 kids and do nothing. I mean, Congress is the epitome of this. They go there, they do absolutely nothing. They find every loophole, workaround. They're getting money at the back door. They're taking the taxpayers' money at the front door.
Yeah, I don't understand how somebody can go into, public service, supposedly, make, even making $200,000 a year, which part of that is maintaining two houses or flying all the time because you live, in California and, your constituents in California and you spend half your time in D.C. So
like Al Gore
you're making $200,000 or $300,000 a year, yet maintaining two households and two of the, look at Pelosi. I mean, she maintains two houses in the two of the most, expensive places to live in the country. And somehow, these people come in and make $300,000 a year and somehow leave after 5 years of service millionaires.
Now, remember, $300,000 a year.
Right.
$300,000 a year is $10,000 a day. And they only work maybe 3 months out of the year.
Right.
As far as actually,
no, but what I'm saying is even on that much money, even making $10,000 a day, you're in for 5 years, then you still only made like, $1.5 million or whatever. How do they come out with like, $10-15 million and nobody questions it?
Yeah,
obviously they're getting money
them
on the side, and but nobody does anything about it.
A lot of what they do is they ride it on speech giving and stuff like that at like universities or something. They'll go give a speech at a university and get paid like $40,000 to give that speech, and that's part of the way that they get a work around.
You should want to inspire the youth for free.
Well, that's a noble sentiment, but you know what? These people are corrupt enough that they don't really give a shit about anybody in the American populace.
Then they shouldn't be talking to the youth.
I agree.
Go up there and do it for free. They want to bitch about the cost of education and then take $40,000 from a university to go to a speech.
Well, no, they don't take it from the university. They take it from the people who organize the speech.
Yeah, the sponsors.
Yeah, which could be like, Monsanto,
Right, exactly. That's exactly how it works, too. And they're hypocrites. They're huge hypocrites. Because especially, the Republicans, more so than anything else, because they're the ones who talk about the entitlement class so much and wanting to get rid of entitlements.
Well, that's because it's a popular talking point for them. It's a means to control their demographic.
And you're right. And you're absolutely right. And
who are welfare queens in their trailer parks. So I don't get what what they're bitching about. But
because the people who are
amazing when you have a population so stupid that it's willing to vote constantly against its own interests.
And knowing things like that, do you really feel that it's possible for that society to survive?
Well, I don't. Something's going to have to break.
Yeah, big time.
I mean,
there's no way around it.
Well, I'm hoping it's a mind break, not a blood break.
Sometimes it's the both.
I know, but my hope is that something clicks in our societal movement that changes the mentality of people, and then a lot of these dinosaurs that are in government right now will hopefully die off. But it kind of frightens me as well because the Tea Party seems to be the predecessor.
They're already faltering.
I hope so.
It's because they are the Republican Party.
But the Democrats need to fall apart too. They're a big business. They're still big business. They're still big oil. They hide under the guise of a lot of progressive things, but a lot of them are not truly progressive.
I think that's
what makes me mad is
everything
I see and study and whatever else look into. Basically, the bulk of the country, like over 60% of the country, is fiscally conservative and socially liberal.
Yep.
And, there's not really a party for that. I mean, you can kind of lean libertarian, but then, what bothers me with, leaning libertarian is when they start grouping in absolute loons like Glenn Beck.
Mm-hmm.
Calls himself a libertarian. I don't see him as a libertarian. I'd see him as a fucking psycho.
He's a fundamentalist, a religious fundamentalist is what he is.
Right, which you can't be a Christian fundamentalist and be libertarian.
Well, that's the problem with identifying anybody with any party.
Glenn Beck is Mormon, I believe.
Okay.
Right, but I'm pretty sure he's still, fundamentalist.
Yes, but you called him a Christian fundamentalist, and there's a difference.
Technically, Mormonism is Christian faith.
Yeah, I mean, that's you're splitting hairs.
That's like calling
okay, and evangelical might not consider them Christian, but they're in the broad sense they're Christian.
They're closer to Christian than Mormons are, but go on.
Whatever, same difference.
Mormons are like the bastard Christians.
Everybody's bastard Christian. But everybody has their own ideas.
But
go on, stop. Go on.
If anything, he should consider himself like a Constitution Party or something. But they want to. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it would fit better in the Constitution Party.
But did you? By the way, speaking of all this stuff, did you hear what Glenn Beck is planning on doing?
About making his own city?
Yeah, it's like Freedom Land or something in Texas. They're going to it's going to be like a theme park / community with its own schools and, like crazy schools and hospitals. And they're going to basically indoctrinate kids into the insanity that is Glenn Beck.
Well, there's indoctrination going around, not only just in that respect. Just look at public school system, how we're being indoctrinated, kids are being indoctrinated there.
Yes, because they have to learn about dinosaurs that creationists don't believe in. Or
no, I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking,
but that's the argument they make.
Well, there's a lot of liberal concepts going around in school.
That's good, essentially.
Well, for the liberals, yeah.
No, not really, because you think about it. Okay, liberal ideas in the broad sense here in that scenario means, respecting other people, equality, all that stuff.
And when have liberals in this country actually been for that?
I agree, but okay, now I have to talk about something because it's kind of funny to me because I watch a lot of children's programming because they have small children, and every time I watch one of those shows.
You turn around and realize that the kids have left and you're sitting there watching it for the last 5 minutes by yourself.
Sometimes that happens, but what surprises me is the lessons that are taught in these shows. And, is a lot of sharing, a lot of caring, a lot of doing nice things for other people without any reward. And I'm like, it's so weird that we start our children off in this one thought process. And then as you get to an adult, they're like, no, fuck all that. As they go through school. And
that's just because PBS is a commie organization and they're trying to teach kids, wealth redistribution.
Well, I watch PBS, but I also watch Nick, and I also watch Sprout. And
Nick doesn't count. It's corporate.
But
it's all about corporate, buy thy toy.
Yeah, there's a lot of it, but it teaches these lessons, and I'm just like, it's just so weird to me that we have our children start out at this one point, we teach them all to share. Even trying to teach your kids to share with each other with their toys and everything like that. You're intentionally teaching them a socialist idea, and then you get into an older, thought process, and it's just so. It's so different. It's so weird. It just amazes me that we do that.
I blame all that teaching of sharing for theft because, people think that you should just have to share everything. So, it's okay to take somebody else's car for a joyride.
That perspective does have merit.
Okay.
It does. Because, it gets back to your entitlement class.
Okay.
The feel that they are entitled to this or that. Mm-hmm. And if they can't have the means to get it for themselves through normal channels, they go through illegal channels.
Right, and they get a gun and they rob you for it.
Possibly, yes. And so, that argument isn't without merit.
I was being sarcastic, but
I know you were.
And
I know you were.
The way, the thing is that what it lacks, and probably the point you're getting it to, is what the whole thing lacks is balance.
Right.
It lacks a balance of, you really should share, but at the same time, everybody else needs to respect that it's yours and that it's yours. You know what I mean? And it's your personal property. And if somebody else doesn't want you to touch it, then you shouldn't touch it. You know what I mean? There needs to be a balance of education, kind of. And as far as the schools go, I know they teach a lot of, what's considered liberal ideals, but I think what they need to do instead of, teaching just liberal ideals is discussion. The classes that I love the most, and that's the nice thing about being going through college, is when you get debate classes and philosophy classes, and that's why kids who go through these strict programs end up majoring in philosophy, because it's the first time in your life after going through a public school system that you actually get to stand up and state your damn opinion. And it's sad that the school systems don't promote thinking and problem solving and You know, instead we get rote memorization and how to pass a test, and you know, everybody gets a sticker whether they failed or not, and you know, it's just the whole system is just setting our kids up for failure repeatedly.
Well, what I think is interesting is that they constantly there's a constant statement I've always tried to teach my children, at least, and I was taught, you know, through various sources growing up, which was always question authority. And
that makes you a terrorist now, though.
It does, but at the same time, you should also question everything you do. I mean, and I'm not talking about nonsensical questions, like with climate change and stuff like that. You know, oh, but why? You know, I'm going to question it, so I'm going to say, okay, well, it's cold today in my town. Coldest it's been in a very long time, so global warming isn't right? Yeah, I'm not talking about that kind of question. I'm talking about asking questions to find out information. You know, to go and talk to multiple sources or read multiple sources to find information.
Kids can't read.
I know. And that's what kills me about the school system is they don't, you know, you don't hear question authority. You know, you don't hear question things.
Of course not, because then they couldn't control the kids.
Right.
They say encourage the people. They demand absolute obedience to the hierarchy of the power structure in the school.
Which gets to what Johnny's talking to is the fact that they don't allow you to talk in class. It is if they allow you to have an exchange of ideas that they don't want get input.
Yeah, but they don't want that.
Exactly. Which is why you're not allowed to talk in class and have open discussion like that.
And that's also why, because what's going to end up happening, and what I think they're afraid of, is what's going to happen when some idiot, you know, they're talking about the Civil War, and some idiot, you know, whose parents are still in the KKK starts bringing up a bunch of racist crap, and he gets the crap kicked out of him in the middle of a classroom. Well, you know, I mean, there's other sides to it, but it's, you know.
Well, see, that's just bad anger management and bad management on the teacher if that winds up happening. Because, I mean, honestly, if you can have an open debate, and, you know, even the teacher should look at that student and say, you know what, there's not a need for you to talk in a vulgar manner about this. If your family believes this, come at it educated. Bring valid points. I have no problem with having a discussion with a racist. You know, as long as they're an educated racist. If they can bring valid arguments to the discussion, I have no problem with discussing.
But that's the problem, is most racists aren't educated.
Well, look at this.
If they were, they wouldn't be racist.
When I was in high school, I had a history teacher.
Okay.
I'm not going to name him because he'll probably get, you know, like burned on a cross or something nowadays. But he gave us an assignment.
Okay.
And it was a classroom assignment. It was like we were talking about the Civil War.
Okay.
And he's like, explain the benefits of slavery in the, you know, with the level of technology that you have. And it was really interesting because it puts you into places like, well, why would people have slaves? It's a barbaric thing and all that.
Right.
And it's like, well, it lifted our economy from colonial to non-colonial.
Mm-hmm. The
Industrial Revolution in this country was based on the back of slavery.
Correct.
You know, and it could be argued that our success in the Industrial Revolution was because of slavery, and we got ahead of a lot of other people, other countries, because of that. And it's just interesting because it encouraged you to think of put yourself in the place of someone else that doesn't think the way you do. And I think that more than anything else is what is lacking in society.
I agree.
We can't put ourselves into other people's places to say, okay, I understand why you feel that way. Right. I understand why you think this way. And I can see where you're coming from, and I can see how you'll arrive at your assertions and your conclusions.
Right. Lack of empathy.
Well, it's not even empathy. It's the intellectual's empathy. Empathy is more like emotional.
Right. Still being able to put yourself in somebody else's shoes, you know, and kind of see why you feel that way.
Exactly, and that doesn't happen in this country anymore because we taught our kids not to.
We taught our kids, out of everybody.
Well, no, we taught our kids that there are absolutes.
Yeah.
Okay? One way or another. And that's not healthy.
See, it's kind of funny because like, I know my children, like, they, at least my son, he's old enough to understand, but I tell him all the time, like, if I tell him something, and he kind of gives me this look like, really? And I'd be like, dude, if you don't believe me, by all means, you got a whole internet to go hunt down information on.
Yeah,
You'll
right.
find out if I'm lying. Tell me if I don't have my facts straight. I encourage him to double check and fact check and
the internet says
He walks back
that
in the room and goes, the carpets do match the drapes.
the internet says that the world's only 4,000 years old. You're lying, Daddy.
Well, I now I'll say how many sources did you look at, and what sources did you look at, and then I will question his information.
And that's something else I noticed.
What's up?
I'm sorry. People discount sources on the basis of who they are or what it's from.
Well, I look at
when you post things on like our website that come from like extreme right-wing conspiracy sites, it's hard to take them seriously.
I find that there is validation and truth in every statement, in every piece of media.
But you have to evaluate it first, not discard it out of hand.
Correct. It's like the one you posted about the group that was starting the militia, and all different stuff. And at the end, like everybody's not perfect. And that's the truth of the matter. You sit down, you read a story, and he has good points in it. I mean, if you read any kind of racial site, they have good points on it. It may not be the complete right point, but they do have points, and they do make sense. But you can't just take that and go, that's it, that's the end all be all.
Right, but that's what people do now.
Right.
That's the problem.
And it's a shame. And I'm hoping that, I really hope that generations are starting to come up and go, let's use our brains a little bit more.
Not according to the educational statistics.
Well, I want people to think more, and I want people to look more stuff up. What worries me is that the sheer amount of absolute insanity that gets pushed all over because of the internet as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because
that's because of the media, like Fox News and CNN. They glorify the fuck out of those stupid idiots.
Yeah, and some other crazy that
and,
he'll say, well, I want to go out in a blaze of glory too. And that's a good way to do it.
Well, like the whole the Sandy Hook truthers and really, people, are we really at that point? Like, I was reading something the other day, and they're like, well, they didn't put the funerals on TV, so therefore they must be fake. I'm like, you've got to be fucking kidding me.
Well,
what about the how they say they found the AR-15 in the guy's trunk, stuff like that. That's something that's plausible.
Well, that's not what they found in the trunk. They actually found a shotgun in the trunk.
That's it depends on who you're hearing it from. I mean, the news outlets.
No.
It's like you can't even trust.
But you know what? Here's the thing, and the news outlets can't be trusted on that because they get caught up in well they want to verify with two sources or something. They're like, the AP says this, and then CNN says the same thing, so we're good.
That's self-reinforcing feedback.
Right. No, I agree.
No
I agree. And no, I completely agree with you. But what I'm saying is, we go through all that, but they're typically at the end of everything is usually some kind of official report. Now, whether you can trust the official report is another thing, but there usually isn't in the end all be all an official report on the thing. If they would just wait for the the information to come out.
One point I want to make out for it, and I'm going to say this, and I know I've discussed the 9/11 thing, but that and the Sandy Hook thing and a couple other things that have happened. I watched Dan Parkman. I don't know if you guys have ever watched any of his stuff.
The guy from Heroes?
No, Dave Parkman. I'm sorry. I think that's his name. I don't know. He has a YouTube channel.
Okay.
I think it's Dave Parkman. But he kind of made the point that, people can't wrap their heads around humanity being as cruel as it is.
Mm-hmm.
And like with 9/11, there's a ton of conspiracy theories behind that. And I've questioned a lot of things, and I don't necessarily believe that it was staged, but it's a possibility as far as I see it. But it's not like one of those things where, I'm like, I know this is, that was what happened. And that's what I see a lot of problem with a lot of these people are. But, I mean, the thing is that it's just the fact that these situations are just so big and people don't want to believe that a human can be so cruel to do these kind of things. So they start making up all these other things because it's easier to believe that your government is being sneaky and shadowy.
Well, look how people in government exploit things like that, though.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's given.
It's plausible that, with so much vested in something like that and exploiting it the way they do, that they wouldn't want to shape events in some way to control their agenda or control the access of the public to their agenda.
And I don't disagree with you, but at the same time, you kind of got to just take it as what it is until other things start to come out. And just assuming that these people are, being honest with you when you watch the truther videos, you kind of have to, watch it. You got to watch what you're listening to.
You can say that about anything, though. I'd say that about government press releases.
I take a grain of salt with everything, and that's what a lot of our society does not do.
Yeah.
Our society does not take things with a grain of salt. Our society does not look at many sources. They don't try to use their common sense when they're listening to a story.
Well, no, they just
most of the stuff directly out of politicians' mouth is either in, political speak where it's so vague or neutral that it can be interpreted in many different ways, and or complete lies, or just they won't answer the question because they don't want to have to lie. So I mean, you definitely have to have skepticism, listen to a politician speak.
Yeah, but now the politicians are the media, effectively. Where the media is complicit with the politicians and the political goals, whether it be CNN, MSNBC, or Fox News.
That's what happens when you keep allowing markets to, major markets to get swallowed up by, 3 and 4 companies. I mean, I know recently, I don't know if they actually did it, I don't know if you guys know, but they were talking about opening up the top, they've already opened up like the smaller markets to having every radio station and newspaper being bought out by, the couple of companies. They were talking about opening up the top 20 markets to being able to be bought out, where like in New York, you could have every newspaper and everything owned by like 4 companies.
WNBC.
Well, that's what it comes down to. I mean, who are you looking at? You're looking at, NBC, Comcast. You're looking at Comcast owning, basically a quarter of the market with.
Well, they already do.
NBC, and then you have.
And Universal.
And Universal, and then all their other stations that they have. And what are they going to do with it? They're going to get rid of G4 and make it Esquire TV.
Are they really?
Yeah, you didn't hear about that?
Man, G4 is the only network we got.
Yeah, G4, the former Tech TV is they sold the station out. It's going to get they did a deal. It's going to be Esquire TV.
And what's that going to be about?
Esquire is a
men's magazine, essentially.
Yeah, men's fashion magazine.
You have got to be shitting me.
No.
They have a hell of a market on G4 with the gamer community.
Yeah, you know why that station fell apart?
Because
Ferrera left Attack of the Show, and Adam Sessler left X-Play. That's exactly why that station fell apart.
I blame it on Olivia Munn leaving.
No.
Yeah.
It was fine when Olivia Munn left. Ferrera is what holding that show together. And Sessler leaving X-Play kind of screwed Morgan Webb, but they tried to hold it together. And they had some, because they had Blaine, what is his name?
You watch way too much G4.
I actually liked it. I like Ninja Warrior. I liked it when they used to have, what was that one show? For the love of Christ, I can't remember now. It was another Chinese show.
Most Extreme Challenge or something, MXE?
No. It was like a,
Wipeout?
It was like Kambushi or some shit like that. And it was pretty much like people would have to do random shit. Like they would have like a tricycle that you would have to drive through an obstacle course on, you know? And they would have like world champion unicyclists come on there and mountain bike. It was a funny show because it was like, you know, it was completely random shit. Like they had one where you had to like fly a remote control helicopter through an obstacle course and you couldn't hit nothing, you know? I mean, it was just like random stuff like that. And it was an awesome show. And, they stopped showing that, and then they pretty much stopped showing Ninja Warrior, because then they brought in American Ninja Warrior, which just completely sucked ass. They tried to make it too much like a real sporting event, you know? And it's like, yes, that's what a bunch of nerds watching a tech channel want to watch. You know, a bunch of jocks running an obstacle course, you know?
Yeah, this is why I don't like wrestling on Sci-Fi Channel.
Right.
Wrestling is not sci-fi.
It's a male soap opera is what wrestling is.
No.
Yes. It's a bunch of sweaty men in tights acting out soap opera scenes.
No, there's women too.
And some. But
if you were complaining about combat women earlier and you're going to call them women?
I'm sorry, but Stacy Keibler was a woman.
Yeah, and she left.
I understand that, but...
I have a problem with a woman that can lift my fat ass up over their head. That's not okay.
I don't think Stacy Keibler could have done that.
No.
I don't know who you're talking about because I don't watch men's soap operas.
Well, you have to look up Stacy Keibler.
Who's she married to now?
Oh, fuck.
You know what? All I did was type in Stacy, and that was the first one to pop up.
Yeah, she's from Maryland, right?
Yeah, she's from Baltimore, I think.
Like Perry Hall, I think.
Yeah.
Like White Marsh area.
She kind of looks like she's from Perry Hall.
She has long, pretty legs.
She's got that kind of little bit of, dyed blonde, white trash face going on.
Upward nose.
I think she did a Playboy spread, too.
Yeah, I think she did.
Yeah, well, Google's changed their standards. You can't find that stuff without typing porn in.
Oh, wait, no. Well, Stacy Keibler dude, it comes up with a little thing that says, Google safe search, and blah, blah, blah. It says, continue to results. And there she is.
And there she is naked.
And who were you talking about was fapping earlier?
Yeah, right.
I take care of my fapping before the show.
That was all nice and relaxed.
Yeah. I don't get all worked up because
he had to. He thought you were going to talk about guns again.
Yeah, we thought we were going to have the gun debate again. Yeah.
I explicitly made that a condition of me doing the show tonight. Like, I do not want to talk
We're not having
about
that conversation again.
Because I'm going to have a heart attack this time I know it.
All right. Well, that's going to be the end of the show because we have completely jumped the rails, and it's time to say goodnight. So this is it. Thank you for listening to Congress of the Working Class, Mike, Johnny, and Esworthy. Good night.
Yeah.
Listen up, man, I'll tell you who I am. Just another stupid American. You don't want to listen, you don't want to understand. So finish up a drink and go home.